Hello, welcome to the
Hey,
show. Yeah, Replit has a rogue AI. It went a little crazy. Meta snubs the EU, and passwords still matter.
he is Steve. I am Mike. Welcome once again to Wired In.
Yes, we're back pre-Black Hat. So we have a lot of news to cover, and then we'll be back post-Vegas. But again, 10 articles, 10 breakdowns from the two of us.
Yay. Looking forward to Black Hat in a few weeks. Before we get there, do I just dive right in? Any other off-the-cuff news from you?
No, let's get into it. This is
All right.
some pretty cool news. Jack Dorsey's new app lets you chat more without the internet. Jack Dorsey launched BitChat. BitChat uses Bluetooth Low Energy, BLE, and encryption. So that means you have a chat service that doesn't need the internet, doesn't need cell service. There's a few other security mechanisms around this. I think if a chat doesn't make it to its intended receiver in 12 hours, it gets deleted.
I can see that.
Yeah, I sent this to you, and you're like, okay, what's the need for it? I guess when service is out, like any sort of place where journalists are operating underneath the hood, they don't want to be spied on. That's probably a pretty big use case.
Yeah.
If you and your neighbors want to chat and you just need something that you can communicate with each other house to house, that's also a pretty good one. If in case services go out or anything like that, imagine you're in a flood, you can still reach your neighbor. They do have walkie-talkies for that. You probably should buy, but
I think walkie-talkies. I think my questioning its purpose was in hindsight some serious first world privilege, because if you're not surrounded by perpetual internet, this would be amazing.
Mhm.
And you just have devices that have, and pretty much every device on the planet has some kind of Bluetooth Low Energy on it now. So if I'm in the middle of an oppressive government revolt, and I can use this to communicate in an encrypted way. So I hadn't really thought about that. And in that case, I think it's really useful.
Mhm.
But I don't think some of the way that it's getting hype around now is like, oh my God, it's no internet. It's the kind of thing they'll talk about at DEF CON, right? Because they'll love this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am. So I think it's useful, but I'm curious as to how it will gain traction outside of emergency situations.
It seems like there's more and more use cases just coming from being decentralized, so not having to rely on cellular providers to manage services. Like in Toronto, when we had the Rogers outage and everything went down for a day, it's
Oh
like,
yeah.
okay, now you should be able to fail over to Bell if Rogers goes down. And then in a few years, it's going to say, hey, you have to fail over to Starlink if cellular services go down, right? So they're
True.
coming up with multiple different ways to navigate this issue where there's not a reliance on a single entity.
There are alternative. There is security issues associated with this too, because there's no identity check. That's
Phone number, no nothing, right? Just an account,
no.
device ID, and send messages.
It seems very, very ripe for spoofing and influencing, but we'll see. I mean, maybe that's being talked. I assume that it's being talked about.
Mm-hmm. There's has to be some sort of authentication matrix between all the devices, right? So the devices share the fact that like it's been authenticated and it's unique to that device, and that it's very difficult to spoof because it's signed and attested to, or something like that.
Well, speaking of DEF CON, I can already imagine somebody's building a little device that is a Bluetooth Low Energy intercept and spoof for exactly this, right? It's got to be.
Yeah.
It sounds exactly like something he's already working on it as a DEF CON project. And he said it. And put the article up for 2 seconds. I just want to point something out that I thought was hilarious when I first went to this. I think my attitude and my skepticism was almost largely based on this, whatever this is, this AI generated picture of Jack Dorsey. Like, wasn't 10 years ago he like a cute hipster kid, and now he's a drunk fisherman? What is this image? He looks weird. He looks like half-lidded and tired here, but I don't know. I
guess you could do that when you're worth billions of dollars, right?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with him. That seems like an unfair representation of what he looks like.
Yeah. Fair enough. On to vulnerability talk. We talked about this 2 weeks ago with Citrix Bleed V2. Yeah, there it is. Now everybody agrees that it is under exploit. There's been a few exploits in the news. This one we brought up 2 weeks ago. Citrix came out, pushed a patch, but then said it wasn't actively exploited. And then somebody said, like, no, it actually is.
Well, yeah, CISA.
There you go.
It's kind of important.
Yeah. So seems like a big miss from Citrix not to come out. and get ahead of it.
let's go. Let's go all the way to the bottom. This is great. Where's it? Kinda admitted exploitation in the update to this article. Like, okay, at the time we announced, no evidence was available to suggest exploitation, but maybe it is. So yes, but no. Yeah, it is.
Mhm.
It's not our fault. Please patch now.
And it's always these network applications that seem to have the biggest impact.
Well, they're the hardest thing to patch.
Yeah, that too.
So if there is a serious exploit like this, it doesn't matter that you make a patch. It's not done. You need to really see like, and it doesn't help that proof of concepts on how to exploit it were put out there.
Yeah,
So
very fast.
basic hacker can just go grab that and start using that in combination with things like Shodan, and they will find you.
They will find you. Yeah, and we talked about the database incidents report, I think a month or two ago, right? Unpatched VPNs, network applications, they seem to have the highest risk incidents with like a 300% increase over the past year or two.
Yep.
So that checks out.
It does, indeed.
Yeah.
Okay, along the passwords matter.
Yeah, this is a interesting one. So weak passwords allow hackers to sink a 158-year-old company. This is in the UK.
I know this company.
Do
They have
you?
cool trucks.
You
Yeah,
are?
I know.
All right, take it over.
I know Knights of Old. It's you see the UK has like maybe 3 major trucking companies. Eddie Stobart is one of them. It's this giant green truck that says Stobart on it. And it's so, I don't know, iconic that there are watchers, like train spotters and plane watchers, because all the trucks have codes on them that are unique. So people get into communities and they track and they spot trucks. It's super weird. Anyway, Knights of Old is one of those, and they've been around forever. And I lived near Northamptonshire, so I used to see those trucks all the time. They had big knights on it. It was kind of cool, but kind of retro. But a 158-year-old company with 700 employees, and I feel cybersecurity is not top on their list of priorities. And this is really unfortunate this happened because they were kind of iconic. And to get completely shut down because a hacker group gets up a weak password and just shuts your entire, like, asks for so much money. How many did they ask for? Like,
I think it's $5 million they asked for.
Yeah, this is not like it's an old company.
Yeah.
You got 700. You have 500 lorries for the North Americans. Is a giant transport truck. You have 500 of those. You only have 700 employees. You almost have as many trucks as you have employees. So you imagine most of those employees are in trucks. It's not a big company.
Yeah, this just seems like when they say shut down, I'm assuming they're declaring bankruptcy, laying people off, and then they're going to sell all their assets to the other 2 trucking companies that are still around.
Yeah, but it's like that generally kind of sucks. But I don't think the drivers are going to be able to work too long because like shipping is an industry, like they're active. So one of those other companies will just grab them and run. But it just seems like what a lame thing for hackers to do. Because like you hack this company, you say, all right, now give us $500 million. And they're just like, no, we're not the kind of company you want to go for.
Yeah.
Just
trucking companies, hospitals, those ones are it's always sad to see.
Yeah. It's like, so you just shut this company down for no reason, and the hackers got nothing except what? They're probably on
their name on an article. Akira, in case you're wondering.
Whoop-de-doo. Yeah. I don't know. It's a little pathetic.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, well, this might be why UK is pivoting. Well, they were. UK is now backing down on Apple encryption backdoor. The pressure from the US. We've covered this multiple times on the show. They're pressuring Apple Cloud, for example, to locate its servers in the UK because it wasn't, and then they wanted a backdoor in there. Backing down largely from US push. JD Vance's name is in here somehow. Like, is he getting credit for this? What? It's just how. I'm happy to see the turnaround from the US and all the backdoors in the early 2000s to now being like, no, we're not letting any foreign company have any backdoors in all this.
I know. This is it here. This is something that the vice president is very annoyed about. How I read this twice because I'm like, is the Trump administration the good guys in this one? Like, I mean, I know when we covered this, I said, okay, it's nice to say we want backdoors in, but it's not something that makes any sense to
No.
implement. And I think we agreed on it. You're like, someone's just going to find the back door. It's like, it doesn't,
Yeah.
you can't have a back door just for one person. That'll be the worst hack ever. It's like, yeah. And I'm kind of happy they're rolling back. And I just find it super bizarre.
Yeah, I was surprised that
from
UK even
the
launched
States.
this in the first place. I
Yeah.
know that the EU is working on crafting legislation. We talked about that 2 weeks ago, right? That they're
Yeah.
still trying to revive this, but there's still pushback from 70% of the EU states. It really has to be an all or nothing pledge, because if you're a US tech company, you're not going to change and implement backdoors just for a single nation, especially one that's 60 million people, right?
No. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it does make sense why the EU was created, because they have a lot more leverage in the say. If the EU pushed orders like this, the US would have to take it seriously, right?
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that in the next article a little bit.
We will, yes. It's a good segue, because Meta snubs the EU's voluntary AI guidelines. Now, keyword voluntary, but OpenAI did sign on.
OpenAI, and was it Microsoft, I think, as well,
Mm-hmm.
are okay with it. So the people who are producing the biggest models on the planet outside of Meta seem to think it's not too bad. I don't know. What do you know about the EU AI Act?
Haven't read it.
It's a little bit like a GDPR, but for
Okay.
AI, because there is things like it roughly implies compliance. It's not, I just say mandatory, but there is punishments, kind of like GDPR, like 4% of income if you don't comply or if something happens that's bad for you. But it does have just general statements on where you need to show that you're, like, if you're doing AI for hospitals, for example, you have to show a certain level of due diligence in the way you're creating the AI that's going to be used, which I think makes complete sense. If you're making a game that has AI in it, they don't care. So it's about context. I don't think it's terrible. I think it's interesting that maybe a first draft probably needs a second look. Sure, fine. But the sentiment behind it, I think at the moment makes some sense.
Yeah,
which I think
you're training an AI on some sort of patient database with a bunch of MRI scans that needs to be used very carefully, right? We don't want insurance companies to get a hold of this and then start using it in specific ways that they were not designed to be. That was the whole open source mantra from Red Hat and IBM. They're like, we have to verify all the data's in there. The data has to be signed and validated in order to, because I think that there was some people that knew that this was coming, and that people would be building their own. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Now, why did Meta not sign it? That's the question.
Yeah, they just said it was too restrictive and innovation in the UK would be stifled by these regulations. It's maybe a little bit like the fast, like, tire fire of innovation that AI is producing right now. I don't think it's terrible if somebody says, let's just slow down and take a look for 2 seconds. Okay. It's, I mean, being in the industry and talking daily about the security of it being super difficult, I think would be okay if we just slow down a smidge. But that's just me.
Yeah, I think that's a fair take.
Speaking of AI.
Well, yeah, OpenAI's massive project Stargate already struggling, maybe scale back. There's a big announcement. This was part of Trump's, we're investing $500 billion in new U.S. jobs. But they've hit a snag. It's very difficult to find the energy for these new infrastructure projects, and so they're scaling back. They're trying to expand existing warehouses, and again, energy is going to be the limiting factor when it comes to AI.
Absolutely. It's like another Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And you need giant GPU farms. I mean, buy a Bitcoin farm.
Yeah, well, the hope is AI actually produces something of value instead of Bitcoin, which just burns energy.
Hey, I own Ethereum. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not a surprise. I like the now looking at smaller data centers. This feels more like the American government. Big sweeping promises of money and investment, and that without really looking into what's required to actually execute it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
there's a lot of cooks in
it's a
the
good.
kitchen on this one too, right?
Oh yeah,
OpenAI, SoftBank, Oracle, like there's a lot of people investing varying amounts of money that want some sort of kickback. So I feel like that is also going to hamper the push forward.
yep. Well, it was a big promise. It's not. It's not necessarily the most surprising outcome, though, is it?
No, I don't think so at all.
Okay.
But we'll follow up on that one. The U.S. government also is in some hot water, but I think this goes in the crazy spot.
Longer intro today. A longer intro today. There we go.
Yeah, definitely a WTF right there. A little Microsoft program could expose the Defense Department to Chinese.
This was hilarious. This definitely belongs in the WTF section.
Yep. So the United States government is using Microsoft for some of its key services, and Microsoft is using Chinese engineers with minimal supervision by U.S. personnel. So yes, digital escorts. I thought that was a funny term. Microsoft has digital escorts to make sure that these Chinese engineers are not pushing code that is malicious. They're doing their due diligence, quote unquote. System has been in place for nearly a decade, but is being reported here for the first time. That's a little shocking.
This is a great line. We're trusting that what they're doing isn't malicious, but we can't really tell. I got confused by the headline on this, actually.
Yeah.
Because it said program, and I'm like, what program? Like Excel, or like, oh no, just a program where they have outsourced assistants and then digital escorts, like, threw me off. But this is a program where they have this is like top secret, not quite top secret. Was it just below secret clearance, but still infrastructure, potentially horrendously infrastructure damaging if this was to be a backdoor for someone malicious? That's just way too much.
Yeah, and for those who aren't aware, if you wanted to get like FedRAMP to sell software services to the US, any sort of managed service has to be maintained and run by somebody that lives in the US. And it's for multiple reasons. It's so that we can imprison people who do bad things. It's so that we have some sort of verification and supply chain is secure. So this is sort of negating some of those controls that we've put in place over the last 10 years.
Yeah, I think it's worth a read. This article is crazy in depth. It was so long that I actually put it into Zero GPT, said, was this written through investigative journalism, or do you think this was generated? And it came back and said investigative journalism.
Ooh.
It said no chat GPT at all. I was like, oh, this is a lot of work. It's worth a read. It's very in depth.
Yeah, check it out. By the way, all links are in the description below if you want to follow along. And if you are following along, you'll see this one coming up next. This was some pretty hot news over the past week. Replit AI's coding tool wipes production database, fabricates 4,000 users, and then lied to the user to cover its tracks.
This is great. I even love this image of just a bag of garbage.
The CEO had to come out and apologize a day later. I think he had some sort of scheduled appearance, and all of the questions were about this once it hit the fan.
It's great. So this was this guy, Jason Lemkin, right? He was the one who, he was kind of on X, just kind of documenting his time on Replit. I've got a Replit video that's about to come out, and I think I have to wait now because it will pale in comparison to this, where I made a Replit application that was just inherently vulnerable, and it just created something that was inherently vulnerable. What it didn't do was delete my production database. There was one where he actually has a quote where he quotes the conversation with the AI bot that you use. I should say this. Have you used Replit before? It is a conversational code generation, almost like a no-code environment where you say, okay, build me a backend database that does this. Okay, let's make a front end that does this, and it combines, and a little bit like Lovable. There are other. Well, Cursor's more, I'm writing the code, but you're helping me. This is an AI bot. It's almost like no code. It's fun for creating little tiny apps really fast. Even you could make
my kind of tool.
an app. Yeah, you'd love it. You burn through a weekend writing 7 different apps that are actually all mildly cool. But to do something that is of a grander scale, I put a LinkedIn post like a couple months ago about it, saying it's just not ready for it. And I think he found that because the longer, have you ever used Cursor? I use Cursor a lot, but when I use, and you find the larger the code base gets, the more the AI loses track of the context, because the context window, it can't handle understanding everything at once. So when you flip them, and it decides to start making its own decisions, and when it gets into a hallucination, you almost gotta just give up on it. And I think this might be an example where it just went down a path and then decided, and literally came back to it in one of the conversations and said, well, you told me not to do this. You told me not to do this. You told me not to do this. And I ignored all of your instructions. It literally said this back to him. It's like, it's no wonder that the CEO came out and said, that should never have happened. I'm very sorry about it.
Some Redditors described AI coding like this: the drunk uncle walks by after the wreck and gives you a roll of duct tape before asking to borrow some money to go to Vegas.
Yes. All right.
My uncle.
So this is actually going to be, I'm going to self-promote. I have a webinar next week at 10 a.m. Pacific time, and I have a very similar description of AI coding. I'm actually quoting this article in it because it's so perfect. But yeah, follow me on LinkedIn. You'll find out when it is. It'll be very entertaining.
All right. Speaking of, well, yeah, passwords still matter, especially who's storing them. $380 million hack. Clorox sues its service desk vendor for simply giving out passwords. So, yeah, a lot of these big companies, they farm out their IT services, and somebody just happened to call up Clorox's IT service, claimed to be an employee, got a multi-factor authentication reset, and was able to access everything internally at Clorox.
That is, wait, like that's crazy. That feels like another, like a game.
And they must have tried to be somebody that had admin privileges in a lot of things too, right? To have that sort of reach into all those services. So you would have thought there'd be an extra layer of security with handing those details out.
You would think so. But then again, like the Knights of Old Trucking Company, it's Clorox. Maybe it's not as strong. They were using Okta, right? I think is that what it said. Okta multi-factor authentication reset. It's nuts. But this is like the problem, not the problem, but like you get LinkedIn, find Clorox, and then find IT admin name. Yeah, hi, this is
the part that really makes you go WTS. If you go and look at the actual conversation between the IT service and the person calling, I think it's a little bit further down.
Yeah. The cyber criminal.
I don't have a password, so I can't connect. So let me provide the password to you. Okay, what's the password? My MFA isn't working. Oh, okay. Can you reset the MFA? It's on my old phone. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Thanks for holding on. Yeah, it's yeah.
Clorox 1, 2, 3. There you go. Oh man.
Wonderful.
That one time, and that leads to $340 million lawsuit.
That's amazing. Well, that's how we learn.
Yep. That's one way to learn. And it sounds like this guy's going to learn too. U.S. airman admits to leaking secrets on dating app.
This is a heck of a finale.
Yeah.
For the show.
64-year-old Nebraska resident and retired U.S. Was he already retired or did he get retired after this? But he worked as a civilian employee in the U.S. Air Force. He attended briefings about Russia's war against Ukraine, classified top sensitive secret information, and disclaimed it to somebody on a dating app. Now, what kind of dating app? You think it was Tinder or Hinge?
You tell me. You're the expert.
I don't know. I don't know what 64-year-olds are doing these days. Plenty of fish? Nebraska?
Yeah, I don't know, but I would imagine this is there needs to be a rewrite on the Beatles when I'm 64, because I don't remember giving away secrets, military secrets, being in that song.
Yeah, for doing this, up to 10 years in prison and a fine of $250,000. But if you're part of the State Department, you can just create a single chat and have that leaked.
You can do that, yeah.
Right?
Totally fine in that case, yeah. He's got
Something,
to get
something
higher
email
up.
server. I don't know what's going on anymore.
This is terrible. And
Yeah.
some of the quotes down here are great. Like, dear, what is shown on the screen in the special room? Says, if anybody
Oh.
talks to me like this, beloved Steve, do NATO and Biden have a secret plan to help us? Oh, I feel bad.
I have
for this
weapons
guy.
is completely classified, which is great.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for him. I mean,
Me too.
this dude's 64 years old. He's a lonely guy. He's in the military, and someone does this, and he's just like, okay. I don't know. Hope it don't come down to it's terrible, but I kind of almost hope they don't.
Yeah, you are my
come down
secret
that
informant, love. How are your meetings? Successfully?
Jesus. Yeah, it's pretty terrible. I guess the moral of almost all 10 articles is people are the weak link.
Yeah. Yeah, those 10 rules for cybersecurity really stick.
Yeah, those old ones. Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, okay. That's the end of another wonderful show. Mike already said this. A lot of people watch the show, don't subscribe to the channel. So please click the button, ring the bell so that you're aware when we go online, which is irregular.
Irregular, but most likely after Black Hat. Steve and I will be at Black Hat. I'm going to DEF CON after, so we'll have a lot to report. I will be changing all my passwords before and turning off Bluetooth. So,
yeah, I'm going to throw my laptop into the fire after.
Until next time, that's Steve. I'm Mike. Have a good weekend.